Hi, and welcome to Chat Club. There's only one rule on Chat Club, and that's everybody talks about Chat Club. I'm your host, Alan Hilchey, and welcome to Chat Club. Last episode, we're going to go into episode number 6 here, and last episode I talked about symptoms of depression. Now we're going to look at some tools and some aids to help you with depression, different things you may not have looked at, may have heard of, but just some things that may help you keep in the back of your mind. Just before I get going, I just want to tell everyone I would really love everyone, if you're listening, have a Chat Club Facebook page. Would love to get the likes up. Love you to share all this stuff that I'm doing, because more of an audience I can get, the more it can reach people, the more beneficial for people. These podcasts are all free, so that's my intention. So now I'm going to get into to overcome depression. It helps to know the facts. Depression is a medical condition, and it's not a laziness. And that's the biggest thing that people get discouraged with. They think that you're lazy or you don't want to do anything, but it's the motivation, a lot of different things. So I'm going to re-go over the symptoms of depression. A major depressive episode is defined as experiencing 5 or more of the following symptoms every day, most days, for 2 weeks, or even longer than 2 weeks. So I have some here. Depressed or irritable mood is one. Another one is sleep problems, sleeping too much, sleeping too little, sleeping mainly during the day, so you're sleeping quite a bit or sleeping too little. Change in your interest. An example of this is not being interested in what you used to enjoy, like a book club or going to play volleyball or your ice hockey or your knitting group, your book club, or going to coffee with people. You don't do that anymore. Or it's the low motivation to do that. It's a challenge. Excessive guilt or unrealistically so low self-image. And we're talking about looking at yourself, you feel you're too fat or you're too, we'll never be too skinny. It just seems like everybody is with the self-image of their body. They don't like their face, they don't like their hair, they don't like the curly hair, they don't like the straight hair, short hair, long hair. There's many things that we self-analyze ourselves with, and that's one of the things, is our low self-image. It's huge. Another one is significantly low energy or the change in self-care. Now this one is an example of this would be like not showering anymore, not kind of like smelling a little bit, your hygiene's not up to snuff. Just basically you're not taking care of yourself. So, and that it shows, like the low motivation and not feeling good about yourself. So this can happen. Significantly worse concentration is one. Now this is an example of this. Could be your grades in your classes are declining, like a sharp decline. Like when you're doing really good and then bang, just declines. Or it could be your performance at work, like your performance isn't up to what it used to be, like not doing your work properly or whatever. It's noticeable, very noticeable. Changes in appetite. You could be eating too much or eating too little. That's an example of this, like your changes in appetite. Another one is severe anxiety and panic attacks. Is in correlation, depression and panic and severe panic attacks is a part of it, because that's part of the depression too. A high percentage of people have both. Another one is suicidal thoughts, plans, or behaviors, including self-harm. And an example of this is intentionally cutting yourself or burning yourself, that sort of thing. So just be mindful if you have 5 or you have a few of these. It's very important that you go to the doctor and just get yourself checked out. Do some counseling, nip it in the bud before it gets serious, because if you can manage this, you can have a full, healthy life. You just got to manage these small, things. So if we can nip it in the butt right away, and you may not nip it in the butt, it might be an ongoing challenge for the rest of your life, but here's the challenge. There's not a dark end to it. There's lots of things that can help you manage this depression. It's a medical condition. There's medication and whatnot. It's also important to remember that everyone that isn't depressed or in a depression it, they're not suicidal. Just because they're depressed or they have a long depression doesn't mean they're suicidal. They just feel like they just feel terrible about their whole life. And it's not anybody did anything, it's just a feeling that they get. And like I said, if you get, you can seek help if you demonstrate any specific or self-harm. Like that, you can have help for that. That could be a traumatic event from your past. Could be 5 years ago. Could be something you don't even know about that just triggers something, and you don't know what causes. And when you go to counseling, it roots out these triggers and what sets you in depression, what sets into panic attacks, and then you can watch out for your triggers and try to manage it as best you can. Because everyone's just getting through life and trying to get through the challenges, and that includes myself and everybody else. So that's okay. So here's the question. Okay, I feel depressed now. So what do I do now? What's where do I go from here? Well, now that you know you have some symptoms of depression, some positive coping skills can be useful, and that's what I'm going to bring forward. All the following techniques have been supported by research or medical prescribers. So some of these ones that I have been, these skills have been frequently recommended, and it's really an important part of your treatment plan. So make sure that, if you're taking antidepressants, here's the warning. Boop, boop, here's the warning. Warning is, don't suddenly go off your prescribed medication, your antidepressant medication, without talking to your doctor or your medical provider. So it's very important that you do this. Stay on your medication. I know if you're just trying it out and it doesn't feel right, give it at least 2 weeks. Because they may have to increase the dosages or reduce it or find another medication. But it's very important that you make sure that you tell them exactly how you're feeling, because they don't know how you're feeling. I feel terrible. Well, how does that, what do you mean by terrible? And they can have an insight to what medication will be best suited for you. And that's an important part of the process. So practice some of these skills every day if you can. I'm not saying that they're all going to work, but try new things. I recommend doing a lot of these things. It's important that probably some days you won't be as motivated as others, but you just got to find. I know depression frequently snaps out the less motivation, and it saps the energy out of you and stuff. To know it's normal to feel not motivated. It's a normal feeling. We have it every day. People that don't have depression, people that have depression, people that don't have depression still have motivations, unmotivated times. It's true. I have times going to the gym there I don't feel like going. I'm unmotivated. That's natural. It's a part of our, what we want to do in life. And just to make sure that that everybody gets unmotivated. Not just because you're depressed, you're depressed or anything like that. Just make a good note. We're all unmotivated in the world. I can guarantee you that. A lot of people in the world think that, all these, hockey players and that, they get unmotivated too. Because if you're doing it every day, it becomes repetitive. So, they get unmotivated too. So make a note of that. So the first one I'm going to come to is meaning. The number one thing I'm talking about is find small ways to be of service to others. So, find personal meaning by serving something. It could be a charity, it could be helping out with the school fair, it could be, just different things. Soup kitchen, Salvation Army, collecting, stuff for the Salvation Army during the holidays. Just sitting there, making, because that motivation might say, hey, I sat here today and I collected so much money that's going to help a family. So it's small, measurable goals, right? And that's what we're talking about. And that's the biggest thing is find a way to be service to others. So, helping pay it forward and just different stuff like that. I suggest going to the coffee shop, you see someone behind you, say, I'm paying for their coffee, and try to do it discreetly. It's even better when you do it in the drive-thru because you don't know who it is. I had that happen to me last week where I had somebody pay for my coffee. I didn't know who it was, so but this big, thank you very much made my day. You made another person's day by doing that. I guarantee it works, because I felt really good going to work because somebody took the time and their hard-earned money and bought me a coffee, which made me happy. So I put it on Facebook. Come to find out, it was one of my coworkers. How cool was that? So it really impressed me, because I was groggy, and as soon as I got that coffee for free, it's free. I'm like, oh my gosh! I just kind of snapped out of my funk, and there I went. So I mean, that's just a small thing. Another thing, number 2 that I have down here is your goals. Find workable goals that give you a sense of accomplishment. So, I suggest that you get it like a chart, or get yourself a whiteboard, or get somewhere so you can post the stuff up. And most people feel guilty when they're talking about their goals because they set too high of goals. They're too high, unworkable goals. And listen, a goal is workable if it's something you can control, something that is managing, and something that is realistic for you. Okay? So make sure, it doesn't depend on others. It's your self-control, what you can do. Manageable is basically, don't overwhelm yourself. Don't take too big of a goal on. Okay, say, oh, I'm going to do this. And then you come to the find, it just sends you back. Like, triggers you to get back, oh, I'm no good for nothing stuff. You don't want to do that. You want small, measurable goals. And realistic for you, it's for you and not for someone else. This goal is for you. So, and I know I hate doing the dishes. So when I talk about measurable, I'm talking about the goals that you think, you know whether it can get done or it can't get done. You know that you can do it. And do them small and gradually make them bigger. And if you have a setback, go back to the smaller goals again. It's not a hard thing. But, biggest thing when you're doing these goals, small measurable goals, is don't beat yourself up over them. Like, just talk about them with somebody, or basically, what can you learn from these goals? What can you learn? Why didn't you get it done? Was there something that triggered you? Different things like that. Versus, this is why I'm horrible. This is why I'm so useless, and this and that. So we got to take the negativity out of it, and we have to build with a learning process, okay? So we got to train our mind to be more aware of, hey, I got to train my brain to be more positive. So it's an ongoing battle, and humans deal with this on a daily basis. Celebrities deal with it. I deal with it. Hockey players, professional hockey players, people that are celebrities deal with this every day. It's not, sometimes we usually compare our biggest weakness against someone else's strength. If your sister's really good at something and you try to do the same thing and you're not as good, you're setting yourself up for failure. Keep within what you're strong at. Small measurable goals and what your abilities and what you think you can do. And that's the biggest thing. So we got to go through and talk about that. Is talk about, realistic, something you can control, manageable, and measurable goals. And I suggest to put it down in a journal and write it. Right? Take a journal of what you did. And then you look at it at the end of the week, and you look at all the goals that you did. Try to take the positives out of it. And if there is a day that you're not so good, you come back and you say, okay, what differently went wrong here? What did I do that day? Okay, what can I have done better? What triggered me to do this and that? So it's good to keep a journal to see your progress, because progress always has positive things in it. You just have to look a little harder than you normally do, because if you don't see a big check mark, people don't read in between the lines. It's like when you play a hockey game, and a lot of kids, you lose a hockey game, and the coach says, we're going to learn from our mistakes, and we're gonna take some positives out of the stuff we did. And you're looking at them, saying, "What positives? You guys lost." But there's always positives in a game. The little things that you did right, and then you focus on the positives that you do right, and then it all comes together. You got to focus on the small things, and that's one of the things I talk about, is keep a positive attitude. Number 3, it's called pleasant events. Schedule pleasant events or activities or events. So don't wait for yourself to be in the mood to take a little I call it 30-minute vacation schedule. So you need to schedule these out. like after supper, okay, I'm not going to do the dishes, or I'm not going to do this till 30 minutes. And then it gives you a chance to reset, schedule a healthy hobby. Maybe you'll read, maybe you'll do your journaling during this 30-minute vacation. Remember, to do these activities, you have to you have to have, you got to do it with the right attitude. So, you got to practice gratitude. Take the time to notice what went well today, not just what went wrong. Take a look at your day in this 30-minute vacation. And then it's, it talks about, I know on the internet, it talks about keeping a gratitude journal. And a gratitude is just what you're thankful for. Like, guy bought me a coffee today, or, I was at work and somebody did something for me, or I did something for somebody. Take the positives out of the day, okay? Like, you helped someone out with a math problem that, it's not big to you, it's just helping out, but the other person really values that. Sometimes people aren't very expressive with their gratitude. Usually you can pick it up with face gestures or just their body language. So, if you look a little harder than people are, some people aren't very boisterous with their gratitude. And, sometimes I think people think that they're being weak, but it's not really. Know that being grateful for your blessings does not mean that you have discounted your problems or your depression. It's a battle. It's an ongoing thing. It's a daily occurrence. So you take it one day at a time. These 30-minute vacations are to reflect on things, to improve things, to work on things. Now, this is just a suggestive thing. So, engagement. Stay in the presence. Now, from what I've read online, this practice is sometimes called mindfulness. As best you can do during the activities, not to be in your head with self-judgment attitude, which we all have. We self-judge ourselves constantly. But you may not be able to turn off the self-judgment. But once you notice that you're getting to the point where you're self-judging, you got to try to bring your back, get yourself back to the present, okay? Because you can't define, like, your past shouldn't define who you are. And I talked about that in my other podcasts. And I'm a big believer that you shouldn't let your past define who you are today. Also, all those experiences have built you up to who you are today. You may not like today because you're depressed and that sort of thing. That's okay. But you can work on these things. You're not alone. There's so many people out there with depression that deal with this on a daily basis. You're not alone. Absolutely not alone. People are in the same battle. You just have to find the common things that work for you. So, and that's the biggest thing. I know there's some self-help. There's lots of self-compassion exercises on the internet, and there's different things you can listen to, the self-compassion. But, that's the biggest thing, is stay in the present. Small measurable goals, do a journal. These are all helpful. They're all intertwined with each other. So, exercise and eat right too. So, on the research, I've looked, and it says do moderate exercise 5 times a week, 30 minutes a pop. And it says that you can dramatically increase your mood, like help it out. It's hard to I know it's hard to get to the gym. I struggle with it daily, and I struggle with it a lot, and I don't go as much as I should. But I'm not going to let that define who I am. I'm not going to set that, because tomorrow's another day. I go to work tomorrow, I got to bring my work clothes. Maybe I'll take a 10-minute walk, or maybe I'll go on the rower for 15 minutes, or maybe I'll walk the track outside. There's a high chance I won't do it, but let's bring the clothes in case I get that motivation, okay? And maybe I'll try very hard to do that tomorrow, and I'll try to, get myself in a mood where I can do the exercise. In my job, it's very emotionally draining, because you're always dealing with people that have needs. I need this, I need that. It does wear on you. I get it. So it's important for exercise. Try to set it up that you do 10 minutes, maybe 3 times a week, and then maybe you'll increase it, like 5 minutes. It's better than sitting on your couch, and it may increase your mood that the next time you do the 5 minutes, I can go a little longer. Because I know when I'm rowing and I sit there and I say, wow, I might just do 15 minutes. So I go past the 8-minute marker, and the 8-minute marker is I can go to 20. If I can get over 8 minutes in my workout, I can go longer. It's to get to the 8 minutes that it's, that I'm okay. In my mind, that's my moment where I know I can do more. And then I can go to 20 minutes or 25 minutes or whatever I'm doing. So, that's things that, that's what works for me. And it took me a while to find that. Also, big thing is to watch what you eat. Your food and drink can really influence your mood. Pop and greasy food can really impact you. Really a lot. If you have fatty foods, and it's research, and that's the biggest thing. But anybody will be depressed if they frequently binge on carbs, junk food, and energy drinks. It's just because of what's in it. It's not healthy. You eat your carrots, you cook a roast, or biggest thing I know I like to do in the winter is have a crock pot full of chili. And there's nothing better that you cook it all day and then you come home from work and it's there and you don't have to do anything. All you're doing is throwing ingredients in it. And that's another thing you can do. Like some people have a unmotivated, when they're depressed to cook food, and that's why they go to the fast food, easy peasy. But hey, look at a crock pot's a great way, I'm telling you. I'm not lying to you. I can even cook chili and I'm not that great, just saying. But anyway, let's get back to the facts here. I'm getting off the subject again. So another thing, number 6 I have here is relationships. Focus on people who lift you up. Now these are positive relationships that people are positive. You know that you're going to have a positive conversation. Try to stay away from the naysayers, the people that just bring negative energy. And every time you talk to them, you feel like, oh my God, I'm so tired. They're draining because they're so negative about things in their life. You need to stay away from that. I know, or limit your contact, or if they start getting negative, have some excuses. Oh, I gotta hit the bathroom. Oh, I gotta do this. But the biggest thing is, it's okay to have alone time, but you have to find a balance, and you can't isolate yourself. And if you do that, then your depression's going to linger longer. So you have to interact with people and try to bring yourself in front of people that are positive. Like, I know yoga is a very uplifting exercise, and I know CrossFit, I did it, great exercise. You do it in groups and you do it with people, and it may be a good thing, because when I tell you about CrossFit, everyone thinks that, oh my God, I don't want to go there because the guy's cut up or he's in super shape. I did it, and I had those feelings when I went in. And I had someone say, give it a try. So I went with somebody that I knew, and there were several people I knew. And once I got in there and I started doing the workout, I was looking at everyone else as I was huffing and puffing trying to do it. They were huffing and puffing worse than I was. And I was like, what? Crazy. But the biggest thing is, you bring a partner there, you motivate each other, you take a break. Even the people that were in there doing the exercises, with the ropes or, doing different things or burpees, they even paused. The great people that were in shape, they took little couple seconds, rest, take it, miss the exercise, do 2 or 3 and then stop and then do it again. You gradually got to get yourself into this. But don't, I come out of there, the first time I went, the gentleman that owned the gym, he told me I could only do, usually there's about 4 or 5 rounds in Tabata and that sort of stuff. And when I did it, he told me I could only do 3 rounds. I started to go 4, but I gradually have to get myself into it. And that's sort of the thing with depression, is you gradually have to build yourself up, right? You see where I'm going with this? You have to take small, measurable goals. He set it up that I was going to do 3 rounds of the 5, or either the 2 rounds of the 5. But when I really come down to it, I eventually built myself a pretty good tolerance set. I built myself up to be better. And when I went to the gym, I was like, yeah, this is great. I should have stuck with it, but here we go. The unmotivating factor, And, next time, if I find that perfect partner that I can go with, because that's the biggest thing. If you can take someone to the gym with you, or you can take someone, because sometimes you motivate each other. You kick each other in the butt and say, listen, man, you said that we got to go. Come on, I need you. I can't go if you can't go. A lot of motivating factors. And then the biggest thing is you're building that relationship with that person, but it's also a support system, and that's the biggest thing, is to find supportive people. And that's what I'm talking about, relationships, positive relationships that are supportive. Some people are gonna say some naysay things, like you're lazy, unmotivated, it's all your fault, you don't want to get off the couch. They don't understand depression. They don't understand how much energy it takes out of you. And, I didn't know how much it took me out. Because I was one of the naysayers, man, and I'll tell you, I'm very embarrassed for, how I reacted. And it wasn't terrible. I would just, oh my God, you gotta go to work, you gotta just get on with life. But when I went through the 3 months that I took my anxiety and everything come down, I hit a little bit of depression. Not a major depression, but the biggest thing is I understood that motivation factor and the lack of motivation and how angry I was and how frustrated I was. I get all that. So it's good. It's good to know that. Get rid of the naysayers, bring on the positive people, because there's so many out there and very blessing. I know there's different groups out there. I know there's religious groups. If you want to get into a religious group, they're out there. It depends on how you feel, right? Don't be put into something that you're not comfortable with. But again, sometimes you have to put yourself out there to get yourself into a situation where it's a positive experience. So, number 7, I'm going to go into sleep regularly. Try to keep a regular schedule. Keeping a balance is a hard thing, because you either sleep too much or sleep too little. Staying up late one night and then sleeping excessively the next day is basically a surefire way to, feed your depression. And that's the biggest thing, is sleep can really, and don't try to solve your problems at night, because you're not going to solve the world problems in a night. You're not going to solve any of your problems. It's too late. A lot of things are, they're down to sleep. So make sure that you find yourself, I know when you talk about sleep, there's other things you're obviously going to have your medication. You may have to use melatonin, which is over-the-counter stuff. Does help. Take it a half an hour. Try not to watch TV. Maybe read a book. Read a book puts me to sleep. I know that. I don't do a lot of reading, but should. Increases your vocabulary and all that sort of stuff. So we're going to sleep regularly. The biggest thing is, no matter what medication you're on, doing some of these activities, especially when you don't feel like it, can really help. Number 8, I'm going to go on to listening to music. A lot of research shows that music can be a great way to boost your mood and improve your symptoms of depression. It may help you, strengthen, your perception of more positive emotions, being more positive in the moment. Depends on music you listen to. You gotta listen to, you gotta pick your music pretty good, because there's some really good music out there, whatever, and you may play, music and, sitting down and listening to it and just playing it. Not for anybody else to listen, but for yourself. If you play music and sing, I know I'm terrible at singing, but if you have the ability to do it, bring it on. Tape yourself. See what you can do better. I know a lot of people, they sing and they put it on YouTube and they do that. It's kind of a therapy. It's kind of like me doing my podcast. It's kind of a therapy for me. To know that I'm reaching people makes me inspired to keep on, and it's a positive thing in my life right now, and I really enjoy it. And I really hope I'm helping people, because that's the point of this whole thing. So another thing I got is, I was on number 9. Spending time in nature is such a beneficial thing, as Mother Nature has a powerful influence on depression. You look at the First Nations and how First Nation people in North America, they're big on their nature, and it's a positive thing, and it's brace and strength, and they use it a lot. Strength, of nature. I find it a very, very intriguing culture. It's unreal. I think it's fascinating. So, spending more time in nature can also improve your mental health. Exposure to sunlight has benefits too. So it's good that you have, the exposure to, sunlight. You know, um, eating your lunch during the day, like go outside. If it's a nice day, take your lunch and go outside. You don't have to be with anybody. Just take a look at everyone else and take a look at their gestures, and maybe you'll like that. Just you don't even have to talk to people. You just go out and eat and look at the nature and look at the sun, look at the clouds. Because, that's the biggest thing is to get outside, get some fresh air, breathe that in. You might take in different scents, It can trigger your brain in a more positive manner, and it's important that you do that. So, number 10. Now, this one I kind of pulled off there, like just doing some research off the internet, is try something new entirely. Sometimes you do the same thing day after day. Use the same part of your brain. You get into a routine. Sometimes you can challenge your neurons and alter your brain chemistry by just completely doing something utterly different. And research does show that new things can improve your overall well-being and strength in your social relationships and in yourself. So that's something to think about. To reap these benefits, try to look at maybe going to take on a new sport like volleyball, community volleyball overnight. You pay $2 to go play, or take on a shuffleboard, or even get into bowling, or do something different. You can take a creative class, art class. You can take a art night class. You can take creative writing, journalism. There's lots of different things that you can look at. You can look, I know on Facebook there's a lot of different techniques, like cooking classes and whatnot, that you can look at, like new recipes and different things like that. So, that's something to look at. So, number 11 is, I know I use this in my anxiety one for helpful, some things to deal with anxiety, but this one, anxiety and depression are very well correlated. So I think this one here is a good one. It's try some aromatherapy. So, the biggest thing, there's a number of different oils used in aromatherapy. Lavender can be used to, at nighttime, and it's meant to soothe and calm when someone is stressed. Very good one for night. Like to get some lavender, and it just shocks your brain to think about something else and can reduce your stress somewhat. There's geraniums that are supposed to help balance emotions. So you get yourself a little... I'm big on the horticultural therapy. It's used in the States quite frequently with people that have cognitive disorders. I did a lot of research when I worked at my job, just trying to find other programs in my facility at the time, because we had a lot of kids that were, hard to deal with, never had, a lot of skills. But with geraniums... what I like about this is you build your little garden, or you get a little greenhouse, you start planting stuff, and the biggest thing about it is every day you're going out and you're watering it, taking care of your plants, different smells. Then you turn around and you start seeing the growth of different plants, and that's pretty exhilarating, and it's a positive thing because you're the one that's doing it. No one else is doing this. You're the one that's doing it. So it's another positive measure that you can do. Like horticultural therapy is huge. I know they use it in the States quite a bit. There's other ones like rosemary stimulates the senses. There's peppermint is, stimulates the senses. There's yang is used to balance emotions. I'm not sure if I said that right. Jasmine is used to boost mood and relieve stress. The rose is used to relax. There's different kinds of senses out there, like scents that can help. It's not known, like, I think the research doesn't know how much it is. I don't think they did a measured research on it, but it can, it can just change shock your brain, your neurons and stuff, trying something new, like I said earlier. So, that's the biggest thing that we got to look at. So, and my last thing, I'm going to talk about support groups. Now, I went with the Wings of Change, and it was absolutely awesome that I went there. I really enjoyed myself. It was nice to see that It's not nice to see other people struggle, but it's nice to see people out there with similar things that I struggled with. I try to be helpful, try to, put myself out there, because the more you put yourself out there, the more you may learn. The biggest thing about support groups is the support. It's peer support. People are in the same boat as you. And the biggest thing you're looking at is trying to gain some, trying to find out what your triggers are. And you're trying to, when they're coming to your triggers and you're getting to an episode, or you're going to, whatever's going to happen, that you know what you need to do next. Or you try to reduce, when you know you're getting to a trigger, you can find ways to, to decrease your trigger. And what I mean by triggers is an episode of anxiety, panic attack, or just getting depressed, or, whatever. That's what I mean by triggers. Like triggers that induce what happens. I don't know if I've ever explained that, but that's generally what I mean. So, a lot of these groups, support groups, provide education. They have pamphlets at the support groups for different things. Could be, suicide hotline. It could be information on counseling. It could be other groups that maybe you're interested in. There's a pile of information on these support groups. I know Wings of Change had probably anywhere from 8 to 10 different pamphlets on different things that can help. So there's a lot of educational information in this, dealing with similar issues with yourself. The biggest thing I liked about the whole group when I went to support group was after the talk of the group, it's just getting together and talking about what works with you, like different things that you do, and that very well might be something that you can do. You can share some of your information, you share it back and forth, and there's a lot of different things that can happen in these support groups. If you're to a point where you need help, it's a peer support group. It's they're not going to reveal it's anonymous. Anonymity, I can't even say that word. But the biggest thing is when you're talking support group, these support groups are usually not, they don't divulge your names. It's very secretive. They don't because that's, anonymity is basically what keeps these groups together. Because who wants to go somewhere where Joe Blow is going to start talking about what you're dealing with down the road? These groups are support groups. Their whole intention is to help similar people that deal with similar things you do. So, biggest thing is, there's moments of depression, and, there's depression, persistent moods, and you feel like a heavy burden, and it seems like a dark shadow has slowly crept over your entire life. And that's what depression is, and influencing you in each negative way. But when you feel like you're struggling with all this different thing, you have your doctor and you have some coping mechanism I talked about. Acknowledging, don't be in denial if you are depressed, because it takes you so long to recover. Own it. Don't be scared, because there's over 350 million people in the world that have depression. So you're not the only one. A thing I like to do is, I know on Facebook there's people always putting positive comments and uplifting notes and different stuff. And collecting them or putting them in your, putting them in your living room, or, having, I know people put decals up in their walls that, have positive messages. Maybe put them up, and maybe that'll help. Different things, like change it up. Like if it's not working, go on to the next thing. Acknowledging your symptoms and developing a better understanding, like what starts your trigger, is the biggest thing. And it could be your journey of recovery to live with depression, and to maybe you get to a point where you can help others, like what I'm doing on my podcast, and that's huge, because in the human society the government can't help us with everything. They can't throw money here and there. It's only so much money. So we as humans have to engage ourselves to support others. We need to support each other, because there's not enough money in the world everyone's going to do something. Do I think there's not enough services? Absolutely. Do I think we're going to get the services? Chances are probably not. They're only going to do what they can do at a certain time. And I'm not defending the government. because I have some issues on that, which, that could be further podcasts. So, I mean, depression is a multi-phase phenomenon that comes with different symptoms, many different cases. People describe their inner emptiness and black holes, but it's also in correlation with panic attacks and anxiety and the feeling of hopelessness. So I got a quote here from Goldie Hawn. I'm going to read it. Whether we have it all or we have nothing, we're all faced with the same obstacles: sadness, loss, illness, death, and dying. And if we strive as human beings to gain more wisdom, more kindness, more compassion, we must have the intention to grow as a lotus and open each petal one by one. Pretty powerful, I think. I like that one. So basically, make sure that you take your medication. Make sure that, you take care of yourself. It's important to eat right, exercise, do different things, kayaking, hiking, do things you've never done before. Like, I know I recently started playing hockey lately, and I hadn't for 10 years. It was exciting. It was something new. So make sure that you do this sort of stuff, because, in the end of the day, you have to take care of yourself. You have to find coping mechanisms that are going to work for you as a person. So don't, you're not alone in this battle. There's tons of people that want to help you. I know there's tons of peer support groups. Look for some. If you're in Canada, look for Wings of Change. It's not only for PTS people. It's a peer support group. I mean, they have to put something on there as far as like what details. Yes, there's a lot of first responders that go there, but it would be amazing to see the different categories. Like, I seen categories I never thought: teachers, I never thought coroners, yes, funeral directors, like animal handlers. Like, these are people that seen traumatic things. So make sure that you take a notice and Google different groups in your area. Look at the boards when you go grocery shop, and go to your mental health offices to find out what's out there, because peer support groups are very, very, very good for you. I feel it gives a sense that you're not alone, and there's a light at the end of the tunnel. But that's what you have to look for, that light, and strive for the light. Sometimes struggle to find the light, but you will find it. I know you will. And I firmly believe that every human can do this. You just have to do small, measurable goals, obtain them every day, keep that journal, and keep battling. Because I want to hear from you. I want to hear comments on my Facebook. I want to, I'm fine. You're not okay. That's okay. It's okay. I'm not okay some days. It's absolutely okay. Everybody has those days. The biggest thing is break the silence. Break the silence in mental health. Take a stand. If you think you can be a leader in this, go do it. I encourage you. It's been the best thing I ever did in my life. But anyway, I'm going to rant on and rave here. So basically, my next episode's I'm going to get into grief. I'm going to get into maybe harassment in the workplace. There's different ones I'm going to look at. And that's why it's important to go on my Facebook, on Chat Club, because I will post different things. The more engagement I get, the more I'll be able to keep going with that. So anyway, I thank you very much for listening. I hope this has been information that you can abstain and take and work on this. But anyway, I must go now. This is Chat Club. This is Alan Hilchey, and thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you soon.